All right.
I basically made me a sniper class.
And we're back. Hello, everybody.
Mm.
Third time's a charm. Hopefully, it
Okay,
doesn't kick us again.
Lego. Is that cool?
This is the third time
Yeah,
trying to.
that's cool.
This is the third time trying to record this, and my computer is being finicky. Also, the weather is crap. What's the weather like over there for you right now, Daniel?
Right now, it is actually kind of clear. It's overcast skies. Just got done raining.
It's
Nice, cool.
it's still really
It'll last about 5 minutes.
it's still really windy over here, but it and wet, but it's not raining. Me and my mom saw a little bit of lightning on the way home, but other than that,
Yeah, I ran into some lightning myself on the way
yeah.
home.
All right, guys. So as of right now, no game tonight, and there's a maybe Monday. Maybe we'll play Monday, but that'll be a decision for everyone in the group. Daniel says he's good with it, and honestly, I'm good with it, and I'm pretty sure my brother will
And
be
I'm
okay
good
with
with
it.
it.
And Dom might be okay, but I don't want to speak for him. It'll really be Patrick that's the decider on that one. Next week, though, the next Monday, though, will have to be when we do a game, if we do a game that week. Because my schedule has been changed and I will be opening every single day I work that week. Yeah, so no
Good
more.
luck, my brother.
It's no big deal. I've had to open all 4 days of my work week before. It's not that big a deal. It mostly just means I don't get to sleep in on Fridays anymore.
How many times have you had to open with Helen?
Um, a few now actually. It doesn't actually bother me that much. I used to have um I I used to have more trouble with it. I'm doing a lot better now. I don't want to get too much into that because that feels a little bit too personal, you know?
Yeah, yeah, I
Like
completely understand that.
I'll talk about how rough of a day work was all day long, but I don't want to talk about
Ugh,
people. I don't want to talk about people specifically, you know?
yeah, makes sense.
Like if you do talk about a person,
What?
if we do talk about people from work, let's not use any names, okay? You still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay. But yeah. But other than that, it was a pretty good day today, and I'm glad to be sitting here doing a podcast. And speaking of the podcast, today, I came up with the idea because since I'm here with Daniel, and Daniel's playing Zell, who is a former soldier who killed his commanding officer. Good lord, that's dark.
Well, the son of a bitch shouldn't have been around his mouth.
Um, I figure let's talk about the military of specifically Adaria, since that is where you guys currently are. Give me just a moment. I have a one particular document I would like to open for this. Ah, there it is.
Or you need to pick all these guns up.
So, the military. So, to be clear, the continent you guys are on, which I've stated a couple of times, is called Two Kings. Two Kings has two countries, two very large countries, that make it up. On one end of it is Adaria, which is where you guys are from. On the other end of it is Barakova. These two countries have been at war for literal centuries. The exact reasons of the war are not fully remembered or known. What they do know is that it started with a quarrel between two brothers. Specifically, the children of the first king of two kings, King Vosh. His two sons, Adarian and Barakovus, had some sort of falling out, some sort of disagreement. No one's quite sure. But they ended up splitting the continent in half and ruling separately, instead of together like what was intended by their father. And at some point later, there was a whole bunch of tension between the two countries for reasons not fully understood. And then at some point later, Barakova started assaulting Adaria. And it's just been like that ever since. There was one point where it was so severe and so and so brutal that the gods themselves pulled the land up on the border between these two countries and created what is now known as the Wall, which is a huge mountain range, the longest mountain range in all of the Glass Veil, that blocks off the two countries from having contact with one another. That did not stop Barakova from trying, and so now Adaria has men standing on the wall, watching and protecting from Barakovans trying to cross over. Granted, there are exceptions made because with two countries at constant war with one another, there are of course refugees. There are Barakovan refugees that have crossed over and live in Adaria. They're not treated very well, but they do exist. As for the military as a whole, the ranking for the armed forces, specifically for the land forces, their rankings go no blade / bladeless, first blade, or blade and hammer or blade and cross. First blade is your bog standard soldier. Blade and hammer is blacksmiths, like engineers, weaponsmiths, things like that. And then blade and cross is healers. From what you know of Ariel, she would have been a blade and cross.
Okay.
After that is second blade and knighted blades. Your character, Zell, would have been a knighted blade, which essentially a second blade is like a field commander. They essentially are like, they're not the highest ranking dog, but they're like just below that.
So would Ariel technically outrank me?
No, Ariel is lower ranked than you, actually.
Dad, look.
You outrank Ariel by almost 2 whole ranks. Technically speaking, a knighted blade is still a second blade, but they have been promoted to like field commander.
Is that the sweat part?
There is a second blade equivalent of the blade and cross. The symbol that you saw on Ariel's armor was just a standard blade and cross. 1 blade, 1 cross, which is the standard medic insignia.
Anything else? Where you go?
Essentially, she's just above someone who just got out of military school. Like, she's just
okay.
above a fresh recruit.
And Zell would technically be the guy that's been in it for a minute.
Yeah, you've
But
been
He's
in
already
for a
worked
bit.
his way up.
Yeah, Knighted Blade. So, Second Blade is a promotion you will eventually get no matter what. Second Knighted Blade is one you have to earn. So Zell has done enough to have earned the title of Knighted Blade. Specifically, Zell's symbol would be a set of cross blades with a crown wrapped around the middle of them. That's what his little rank insignia would look like. Or at least mentally, that's what I have pictured for his rank, for the Knighted Blade rank insignia.
Right.
A standard second blade is just 2 blades crossed. Third blade is your captains. Fourth blade is your lieutenants. No. Third blade is your lieutenants. Fourth blade is your generals. Fifth blade is the king.
Okay.
You know how there's no such thing as a 5-star general outside of the president? That's essentially how it works.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I got you now. If you were just so happen to be a 5-star general, you were
Exactly. But yeah,
top of the top. You know
so
what I mean?
fifth blade is essentially the king. Fourth blade is a general. The dude you killed would have been a third blade. Would have been probably an older human. Which honestly, thinking about it, that might have been a reason that Zell didn't like taking orders from him, because he was a human. And though he was
I could see that.
he was an old human, but like Zell is technically older by default. Because Zell is at least 100 at the time of the campaign, which we agreed he was in. I believe you
Prison
said
for 3 years.
yeah, Zell was in for 3 years. He was 100 when the incident happened. He is currently 103. So, yeah, he would have joined the military. Depending on when he joined the military, he's older. He would have still been older than his commanding officer, which probably would have annoyed Zell. Would have substantially annoyed Zell. I can only imagine.
So, I mean, when it really boils down to it, Zell was dealing with a kid.
Yeah, to a
Or
certain
to him,
extent.
it was
To
to
a
him,
certain-
it was a kid.
It's more a thing of in Adaria, they don't really care about they don't very much care about your age as long as you are able to, as long as you are allowed to make your own choices. If you can do the work, if you're big enough to do the work, you're old enough to do the work.
Right.
Zell's commanding officer would have been someone who probably joined before while Zell was still in training, maybe, before he even joined the Adarian military, something like that, who just happened to have already made the rank of third blade by the time an almost 80-year-old, probably 90-some-odd-year-old elf joined his ranks.
The higher, the farther. The lower, the
But yeah, like you were asking about Ariel, she would have been a Blade and Cross, and based on the fact that her symbol didn't have any stars attached to it, Zell would know that she is the basic level of a the basic level of a sword and cross, which is, again, like, just above recruit. Yeah, that's another thing. First Blade actually has 3 grades, essentially. So it's First Blade, First Grade, First Blade, 1 star, First Blade, 2nd star, and First Blade, 3 star.
Yeah. I see that. Oh, I see the thingy.
You're wearing a headset and I can still hear them.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, technically, it's just an earbud.
that's fair. But yeah, but moving on from, like, the ranking system, how the military operations on the border would have worked would have most
So I'm gonna
likely
be like, go that way.
would have most likely been along the lines of, there are people on the border itself, there are people who work on the border itself, and then there are individuals who they place in forward camps, who their job is essentially to go out scouting, look at some of the towns, see if there is any, like, large groupings of enemies that are attempting to that seem like they're attempting to make their way in to attempt on assaulting the wall, and the job of the forward camps is to stop them before they get to the wall, or if they can't do that, make their way back to the wall to warn them.
Basically, they were scouts.
Yes, for the most part, the forward camps are scouts. There are exceptions to that, and that actually goes back to the thing we were talking about before we started recording, which was one of the NPCs in the other game, his backstory also involves the military and not being in on good terms with them. He was under a commanding officer who was brutal towards Barakovans. Like, in not a good way. In kind of a near genocidal way, if you catch my meaning.
Right.
His commanding officer was not a good person. There was an incident. That NPC couldn't take it anymore. He punched out his commanding officer and then bolted.
Well, see, that's why he's not in the same
Yes, that is
trouble that Zell's in, because
you are absolutely correct. That is exactly why he is not in the same situation. Because
he swung a lick where Zell filled his commanding officer's face full of arrows.
yes. Zell decided, no, I'm not going... It's like, no, you don't get to walk away from this. You die now. Whereas...
You're not going to do this to them? You may throw me in the brig, but by God, it'll be the last thing you ever do.
Yeah, on the other hand, this NPC, who I'm not going to say the name of because... well, just reasons.
Right.
This NPC, well, for one thing, again, his commanding officer was his uncle. So it's also a thing of, this is my family member, and no matter how angry you are at your family members, there's always a part of you that doesn't...
I may not kill you, but I don't like you.
Yeah, exactly. And, yeah, he just punched out his uncle, ran for the hills, and is now on the run from the military, on the, crimes of being AWOL, because obviously, and, the crime of cowardice under
You should let me take the NPC.
Huh? What was that?
I said you should let me take over that NPC.
I'm not sure that would work considering certain relationships that NPC has to player characters. One of the player characters is dating them. Also, that particular NPC is basically my self-insert.
Okay.
He's one of the first He's one of the first D&D characters I ever built. Like, just straight up one of the first ones I ever built myself. And so I've had him for a while. I'll go ahead and say his name. His name is Marcus.
Yeah.
His name is Marcus Fenris. And he is
Did you? Okay. Did you get that off? No, that's Maximus. Never mind.
No, his name is...
I was thinking of the movie Gladiator.
I think I pulled Marcus from Underworld, honestly. You know the second Underworld movie?
Yes, I do.
Okay, one of the two brothers, the original vampire and the original werewolf, were named Marcus. I don't remember which was which. I didn't care.
It's the werewolf, I believe.
I think it was the werewolf, which I think is the reason I picked it. But I didn't really care. I just liked the name Marcus, and that movie happened to be in my mind, and I didn't really care if it belonged to the vampire or the werewolf. I liked the name. But his last name is Fenris, which does mean wolf, which you probably already know.
Yes.
And there's a reason for that, and the reason for it is his entire family is ex-military. Like his father, his late father was military. His mother was military. His older brother is military. He's military. The only one in his current family who is not military is his younger sister, and that's just because she doesn't like to take orders. She doesn't like to take orders from people. I think Zell would get along with Marcus's younger sister. I think Zell would very much like Marcus's younger sister. But the reason his
we could always infuse Zell into your campaign and see where it goes.
Oh, I'm well aware. Quick reminder: Hellside takes place 5 years before my main campaign. So all of you guys are definitely still alive. It's just a question of what have you been doing in the 5 years since the end of Hellside, and whether or not you make it to the end of Hellside.
I'll make it. It may be crawling on my hands and knees, but I believe Zell will make it.
I don't think you'd be crawling your hands and knees. You're a fighter. You may be a ranged fighter, but that doesn't change the fact that you're a freaking HP tank.
Yeah, but Zell has smart mouth that gets a lot of people that just outpower him.
That is very
when it comes down to it.
That is very true. You could very easily you could very easily tick someone off enough that they would punch you in the mouth.
Yeah, and then Zell's gonna kill him, and then it's not gonna look good for him.
I do like the fact that all four of the guys immediately took up with each other once they were put in the same room. I honestly thought there'd be a little bit more arguing.
Not really. I mean, knowing who controls the other guys, I could. No, you don't need those.
My main thing was I honestly thought Eulant and Zell might butt heads. The reason being that Zell doesn't really like taking orders, and Eulant kind of jumped
into the leadership role.
Yeah, he very, very easily slid into that leadership role, which I think that might just be the fact that Dominic kind of has the most role-playing experience of all of you.
Yeah.
I think the only person who reaches that might be my brother, but he's also not one to just immediately jump into roleplay.
Right.
He kind of needs to be prompted into it sometimes, which is perfectly fine. Everybody has their own way of playing, and when my brother does jump in, it's usually something absolutely crazy, off the cuff and hilarious. So you know.
That is very true.
We're
I do
talking
love
about
your
how
brother
entertaining you are.
spontaneously. I would honestly call them spontaneous combustions because they explode out of nowhere.
Yes, you should hear some of the things his characters come off with in the main campaign. One of my personal favorites is, he was doing something in the fall court. I can't remember what exactly was going on, but an elf tried to tell him something, and his remark was, "I'm a dwarf, I outrank you." One of my favorite lines in the entire game.
See, that's where Zale would have been like, "All right, you outrank me. I'll shoot you. Remember that."
Well, actually, Brittany's character has shot him. So
There you go.
you guys haven't had to deal with it, but I roll, I do this thing called, what's the word? Severity. Essentially, if you roll a nat 1 during combat, and only during combat, people who are listening to this, I don't do it during normal conversations with NPCs or players or when they're trying to scale a wall. It is literally just when it's in combat. When in combat, if you roll a nat 1, I will roll a d20. If I roll anything from 1 to 14, like from 1 to like 10, somewhere in there, you're fine. It's just a miss. If I roll from like 11 to like 13, 14, somewhere in there, it's a little bad. Like maybe you'll drop your weapon or something, you know?
Right.
However, if I roll something like a 15 to a 20, especially a 20, you are either hitting one of your teammates, or they're getting a free shot, or your enemy's getting a free shot on you. Now, before anyone gets mad at me, this does not just apply to the players. One of the biggest problems with severity rules is that DMs won't apply it to their enemies. Everyone is subject.
Their enemy.
Everyone
Their
is
enemies roll just like we do.
Exactly. Everyone is subject to this rule. If anyone rolls a 1 during combat, I roll severity. Doesn't matter if it's a player, an NPC, or a monster. A dragon rolls a nat 1 on a claw attack and gets a nat 20 on severity. Guess what? You're getting a free attack on that dragon. Ah.
Maybe this won't fall with us in it.
Now I try to shape it to the situation. Like I don't want, if you roll a nat 1 against a dragon, I don't want to give them a free frickin' claw attack against you, you know?
Right.
Because dragons do a crap ton of damage. But I might make your weapon break. I probably won't do that because I don't really like taking people's weapons. Although I might be okay with doing it to Zell, considering you are a walking frickin' arsenal.
Yeah, I need to actually get on there and see what all I've got now.
Oh my god, you have so many weapons. You have multiple daggers, I think, at this point, because of... So, for anybody who doesn't know, we went ahead and updated, we changed over. It feels better to say that, because I don't want to make it seem like the new version's better. In some cases it is. The monk got so buffed. Like, you thought Klaus was scary before. I'm terrified to see what he does.
No,
But we changed over to the new to the 5.5. We changed over to 5.5. I don't care if they're still calling it 1D&D. I don't care what they're calling it. It's 5.5. They can get the frick over it. We changed over to 5.5 for the players. Monsters, I still don't have access to the new monster manual, so I won't really be changing over to that. I don't have the Dungeon Master's Guide, so I won't be changing over magic items, because all of my things are digital, so I have to deal with that. But we changed over to that, and I didn't want to take away anything the players already had from their already built characters, because that didn't feel fair to me. So I let them keep all their stuff, from gold to weapons to items. The only thing I got rid of was duplicates. The only thing I got rid of was duplicate items that weren't supposed to be duplicate items. But in the process, Zell's arsenal has practically quadrupled. You have so many weapons now. You have 2 ranged options. You've got a short bow and a long bow. Which the issue is, I don't see the point of giving him a short bow when you already gave him a long bow. Considering a long bow is always going to deal more damage.
Well, I agree with that, but at the same time, it could always be at the point of like, hey, this wolf is, I could spit and hit this wolf in the eye. I need to shoot him with my short bow.
I guess.
But at that point, I would hit him, honestly. I personally would hit him with a trident, or like you said, I got a spear now, so I mean...
You do have a spear now, although it's worth noting that the weapons you have weapon mastery with have not changed. So your weapon masteries are still on your hand axe, your trident, and
longbow,
and your
and my
longbow.
trident.
Which, the cool thing with your longbow is you can now make someone have minus 10 feet of their movement, which that's really cool.
Wait, hang on. Minus 10 feet?
So, most creatures can move 30 feet. When you hit someone with your longbow attack, you can state that you want to use your weapon mastery ability on that attack. Yeah. When you tell me that, I look at what the weapon mastery ability is, and then I apply it. In the case of a longbow, it's called slow, and the ability of slow is it subtracts 10 from the available movement speed of the creature you hit. So, if you hit a creature that has 30 feet of movement on its turn, and use slow, it will no longer have 30 feet of movement, it will only have 20 feet of movement. The intended use for this ability is so that long-ranged players are less likely to have someone get right up close to them immediately, and they're able to keep firing pot shots. And move themselves back as the battle continues, you know?
Yeah.
Let's see.
So it ain't got nowhere near the range to get up on me.
Yes.
And within, with each turn, I can take it like a stride back and be like, right, you still gotta come this far to get me.
You can basically play a really extended game of keep away. Which honestly probably wouldn't have been the worst
No.
idea to use that on the
No.
wolf.
Oh, I wanted to wring your neck.
What was that?
Nothing. I'm talking to my kids.
But yeah, it probably wouldn't have been the worst idea to use slow on the wolf, but you didn't think about it.
Yeah. Which also at shh.
You good?
Also at that yeah, I got a kid screaming in my ear. And also at that time, I could have used like the surge attack.
Yeah, you would have killed if you had used your action surge. You would have killed that wolf.
I'd have killed that wolf and damaged another one probably. Honestly.
Um, well, sadly, you were only able to get one attack from your action surge at this current point in time. You'll be able to get more later once you hit. I think it's level 5. You get multi attack,
Yeah.
and before any of the people try to correct me and say it's not called multi attack. Yes, I know. The one for the player is called extra attack. I don't care. Grammatically speaking, they
It's
mean the
still a
same thing.
multi-attack.
Yeah, it's still multi-attack. The thing is the reason the reason people like to be rule sticklers about it is technically multi-attack is ruled differently than extra attack because of like in-game terminology. At the end of the day, they mean about the same thing, so I'm not worried about it.
Alright, so now I have a question about my character sheet.
Oh, what's that?
Alright, so I've been looking at I just like had to update it for one.
Yeah.
And now I'm looking over it. Like after unarmed attack it has my superiority die,
Superiority die, yep.
superiority die, yeah. And it's got a roll for it, it's 1d8.
Yep. So,
Then it's got maneuvers.
yeah, so basically, whenever you decide you want to attack, you can also decide to use one of your maneuvers. So, like, say you wanted to use a trip attack on an enemy, right?
Right.
You just say, I'm going to add trip attack to this.
Yeah.
So then when you hit, which
It's an 8.
the benefit of Battlemaster is you do not have to decide. You don't have to decide you're going to use a maneuver until you hit.
Come on, Tech.
Excuse me. You don't have to decide to use a maneuver
Go get a diaper change.
until you hit. And when you hit, you just say, I'm going to use the trip attack maneuver. So then you roll the damage die for whatever weapon you use to hit, and then you also roll the d8 that goes with that maneuver. That d8 will go on damage, and then I'd have to roll whatever check is necessary to keep the target of your attack from falling prone. Which, once they fall prone, all of your melee buddies can get in there and beat the crap out of it. Trip attack is so good.
I'm definitely gonna use that. I'm definitely gonna use that next battle.
Trip attack is so good. You also have
Or fist fight in the bar.
You also have 4 superiority die, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So hypothetically, you can do that 4 times.
Okay.
Archer fighters.
So all right.
You first.
All right. So how would that work with my action surge?
You basically just tell me that you're going to do action surge. If you scroll down, you'll find action surge. There's a little box next to it. You click that, and it makes it so it's marked as having been used. Because at this current point, you only have 1 use of action surge. You get I think you get an additional one later. I do not remember. But yeah, so basically you just say, I'm going to use Action Surge. So, and you're like, okay, you can attack again. Or you can do some other action. Like, you can Action Surge to take the dodge action, so it's harder for people to hit you. Or you can Action Surge so you can take the dash action and get further away.
Okay, so I can do that, and then turn around and still use one of my maneuver attacks, right?
The maneuvers have to be done with an attack. So you would still need to... So if you use the maneuver, you still have to hit a target, mostly. I'm trying to remember... Is there a... I'm trying to remember what the triggers for each one of your maneuvers are. Because you have two that aren't totally about dealing damage.
I have one that's actually, it's a maneuvering attack. That's literally all it says.
Yes, maneuvering attack. Let me go to actions.
Tactical mine. I have bait and switch too, which is,
So you can...
swapping places with another character.
Yes. You can click the maneuver and it will tell you what it does. Just click the name of the maneuver, not the die, though.
So I had two different maneuver trip attacks. I have dexterity, and I also have, I'm guessing that's a strength.
Yes, so basically that's based off of whatever weapon you're using. So if you're doing it from range, you would use the dexterity-based one. If you're doing it from, like, if you're using your trident, for example, you would use the strength-based one.
Okay. So that's where it must succeed a DC of 14 strength or a DC of 12 strength saving throw or have the prone condition.
Yeah, prone is basically they are down on the ground. Ranged attacks have
Yeah.
Ranged attacks have disadvantage to hit them, but melee attacks have advantage to hit them. Prone is really, really good. Prone is a good thing for ranged people to be able to do if they have a lot of melee friends. It's part of the reason that Battlemaster Fighter is so freaking good.
So I just got to reading on Vex for my hand axe.
Yes. So,
If it says if you hit a creature with your hand axe and deal damage to it, you have advantage on your next attack roll against the creature before the end of your next turn.
yes. So, how Vex is supposed to work, to a certain extent, is it's meant for, like, two-weapon fighting. However, as you do have Action Surge, you could hypothetically use your hand axe to get the Vex ability, and then use Action Surge to attack with a different weapon, or the hand axe, again, and you'd have advantage on that attack.
Okay, alright, so say I use my hand axe twice in a row. Like I use my hand axe, used Action Surge, went up there and swung my hand axe again and got the Vex or whatever. Would that on the next turn would I still have advantage?
1 second. Yeah, you would. Literally, you can use, if I remember correctly, you can use weapon mastery abilities like every attack. So literally, if you hit an enemy with the hand axe, you can then use Vex, then hit again using Action Surge, get Vex again, and then on your turn, use that advantage again. if I'm remembering correctly. I might have to go into the rules and reconfirm that, but I'm pretty sure that, yeah, that is how that works.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to our next battle.
Yeah, Fighter... So, Fighter didn't get a lot of changes in 5.5, but it got enough changes that it feels you have so many more choices of what you can do as a fighter now, and I love that. No longer do you have to feel like your turn is, I hit them with my sword. Now it's, I hit them with my hand axe and get Vex. Action Surge, hit again with it. Go to hit again with advantage.
Yeah, I also have a feeling I'm going to start using my hand axe a lot more.
I don't blame you. I will state that your trident has topple, which is essentially you can knock them off their feet.
Which almost knocks them, but technically knocks them prone.
You are correct. Let me see here. Your training with weapons allows you to use the mastery properties of 3 kinds of simple or martial weapons of your choice. Whenever you finish a long rest, you can practice weapon drills and change one of those weapon choices. When you reach certain fighter levels, you gain the ability to use the mastery properties of more kinds of weapons, as shown in the weapon mastery column of the fighter features table. Yeah, you can literally every single attack you are able to use your weapon mastery properties as long as you have access to them. So literally, you can hit them with the hand axe once. Call Vex, use Action Surge, hit them again, and then get advantage on your attack on your next turn. Granted, again, you only have one action.
And hit them with anything I want.
Yeah, and then hit them with anything you want, including your trident or your scimitar or... You have so many... Again, since the hand axe is melee, you are, like... Since the hand axe is melee, you can't use your bow for the obvious reason of it's a ranged weapon, you know?
Right.
But yeah,
I can only get advantage on another melee weapon.
I mean, you could get advantage on the ranged weapon, it's just, you wouldn't... Well, basically, if you tried to hit with your ranged weapon after using Vex, it would be a flat roll, actually. You wouldn't have disadvantage because you already have advantage, and they cancel each other out. So you could literally pull out your bow and fire it point blank at whoever you're fighting. That's hilarious.
That's actually, yeah, that actually sounds like something I would do.
Absolutely.
Like, I just watch you in the face with the hand axe. Taste an arrow while you're at it.
I feel like that's what Zell did to his commanding officer. He got him with the hand axe. The guy got back up to, like, attack him, and then Zell held an arrow to his face and said, "Die."
You move, you die. Oh, wait, you bleed.
Oh, God. That's hilarious. Also, I turned on,
Okay, quit.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
You're good.
At level 17, mind you, you get a second action surge. But until then, you just have the one. So I will say
That's going to take me a long time to get to level 17.
In my head, I don't even know if you guys will make it to level 17 in this campaign. You might make it to 10? Maybe? Maybe? I don't know.
Alright, so let me ask you this.
Yes.
since you said that. And you've already asked, what do you see us doing after our 2 years? And what
Yes.
Zell already knows, you get your freedom. No, no. I don't care if you need PP or not. Fine, whatever.
You were saying
Anyway, I'm sorry.
before you were rudely
Uh,
interrupted.
oh my god, this kid's thinking.
Um, you were asking. You were saying something about
Anyway,
what?
like, alright, so, you know, after everything, you was asking what we were going to do for the next whatever after our freedom, or after our 2 years,
Yep.
which is supposedly, to Zell's knowledge, you get that thing out of your neck
Yep.
and you get freedom.
Yep.
And alright, so are we going to follow them stories, or was that just a what
It's-
would you do kind of situation?
So at the moment, it is mostly a way of just asking you guys what what your characters at this moment believe they're going to
There's that
do.
wood one, like a.
It's more of a question of what at this current point in time in your characters' heads are they planning to do once their 2 years is up.
Please! Can you do like it? Please!
It's kind of a question. It was kind of a question of the mindset of the character at that point in time, because as the campaign goes on, I know there's a chance that these characters who don't know each other could very much a number of things could happen. Like, one of you could die, one of you could, like, you guys could form these close bonds with one another. You guys could form close bonds with people in the town of New Hillside. There's a lots of different things that could happen, and so you guys have 2 years to be in this town, and it's a question of, by the time those 2 years is up, by the time the 2 years is up, will your mindset still be the same? Will you still want to make those choices once the 2 years is up? Or will you completely change what your decision is?
Right now, and Zell and Klaus have already talked about it. Well, they talked about it in game.
Yeah.
They talked about it off game.
Yes.
But Klaus has already talked about going after whatever those guys are called.
The Black Circle.
Yeah. Y'all go over there. Go. Because I'm recording. Go. Take it, go with it. If you can't be quiet, go. Anyway.
I can absolutely...
I believe...
You first.
Do what?
I was going to say, I can absolutely see Klaus making the choice to go after the Black Circle afterwards. He has a personal investment in that. I don't really see that changing. At that point, it's more of a question of whether or not he'll be going by himself.
Well, see, Zell has already agreed to go in with him if he was just so up for it.
I mean, yeah. I mean, and the thing is like there are ways you can do that that don't require just march. In my world, there are ways to do that that don't require just trying to find where all of the Black Circle people are and marching in and going in guns blazing.
Yeah. I mean, although that's pretty much what we would probably do.
I'm sure it would be the first thing that would pop into your minds to do.
At least the first one. We'd hit the first one gung ho, like.
As for if I have any plans for a sequel campaign to this, I can see the chances of it happening. It would more be a question of player interest. There's a part of me that wants to do a different tabletop RPG after this, because I've done a lot of D&D, and I'd like to try my hand at something new. So if we do it, there will probably be a gap in between where we do something else, you know?
Right.
There'll probably be a gap where we play a different game for a while, do a campaign in that, and then come back to D&D, which would be perfectly fine by me if we're all okay with that.
I'm
no,
always down to learn something.
I don't mind coming back to Hellside, like, at all. But the thing is like, if you guys wanted to continue with these characters, I would be doing a bit of a time skip. Because the 5 years will have passed. You guys would be catching up with my campaign, and probably be beyond that campaign, because I have plans for what I want to happen after that campaign, or at least I have the ideal scenario that I consider my personal headcanon of what's going to happen, regardless of what the players do. Because every DM has that version of their world where it's like, these are the ideal circumstances I want to happen, and in a book, these would be what would have happened, basically. And again, it's very much a question of you guys wanting to do a second campaign with the Hellside group, which, if you want to do that, I have no problems with putting something together. I have to think about what I want you guys to go up against, because finding a challenge for a full party of level 10s, if that is what you get to by the end of Hellside, is a challenge.
Yeah, that would be a little side step.
Finding a genuine challenge for a bunch of level 10s is quite the conundrum. I'd be willing to take it on. And then again, it also depends on where everyone decides to go at the end of Hellside, because like there's 4 of you, 5 plus Ariel. There's no guarantee you're all gonna decide to go the same direction once you get out of New Hillside. Like, yeah, you and Klaus have kind of come to the decision of, we're gonna stick together afterwards. And I think you could probably talk Joker Jack into that too. That I don't want to speak for Steven, but it feels like something Joker might be okay with doing.
Honestly, at this point, I feel like I'm not meaning to cut you off.
Oh, go ahead.
I feel like at this point, Joker Jack is one of those that he's down for it. He's down. Why the hell not?
I can absolutely not speak for Eulant. Like, that is a dominant question at that point. And then Ariel, like, I can say nothing, because I have so many plans. And Ariel is supposed to be, and Ariel, you've probably figured out by now, Ariel is supposed to be a mystery for you guys to try and figure out to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Loud child.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's mostly a question of you guys being interested in a sequel, and also figuring out what to do for said sequel, and if it's even possible to do a sequel if everyone decides to go into different directions, you know?
Right.
And don't get me
And the
wrong.
way we've all been like, it's like you said, it's like your mind may change after these 2 years on what you want to do after you gain your freedom back. But at the same time, I still can't help but feel like once we're together and once we go through all this, whatever we may go through, we're going to look at each other and be like, listen, we're stronger together in this world
I
than just about anything that can be thrown at us
I personally agree with
so
that
far.
sentiment. I personally agree with that sentiment. I kind of feel like the crew's gonna stay together, but I don't. It's early. It's early.
It's very early.
You guys have technically only been in New Hillside for 2 days.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, I mean, that logic in my mind may change as we progress, but as of right now, that's what I feel.
And yeah, I agree. I really hope the group stays together afterwards because my God, would that be poetic. Um, and the thing is I feel like to some extent, if Zell's situation was different, there's a part of him that would probably try to go back to the military.
Yeah, honestly, and speaking as Zell, I could see that,
The issue is he was
but
dishonorably discharged. There's no way the military would take him back.
and he would also recognize that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he also, even when he went to prison, even when he was sent to prison, he already had the mindset in his head, hey, if the military is so corrupt that they're willing to kill off all their soldiers for one judgment call, they're not a military worth fighting for.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll defend against, I'll stand for everything they're standing for, but I don't feel like Zell would have the same flaws as the military.
I feel like courier work would be very good for Zell after Hellside. Just honestly. So in my world, the people who are from adventurers, what would be called Adventurers Guild, are called couriers. In my world, Adventurers Guilds are called courier companies. And the
Basically, a gun for hire.
more or less, the reason they're called couriers is during the Fourth Kingdom, which, as you recall, was the Endless War. It was so
Right.
dangerous to send civilians out with messages that they couldn't get mail out. They couldn't get messages to anyone. But then soldiers started offering to take messages for like civilians to other locations so that they could be received by who they were meant for, and they started to be called, and like a courier service, and this became so common that calling someone a courier was the same as calling them a mercenary. So
Right.
so at the end of so nowadays they just call adventurers and mercenaries couriers.
Basically, we're Minutemen.
Yeah, more or less. There are
We're like a
there are
we're like
exceptions.
a
You go first.
antique militia.
Yeah. There are exceptions to this rule because the courier company the people that are in charge of like the courier companies as a whole has not managed to get a foothold on Primordial's Landing, which is the neighboring continent to Two Kings.
Right.
The reason being is Primordial's Landing is the largest continent in the Glass Veil, and the kingdoms are so vast and varied and have so many different cultures and laws and rules that the courier companies can't seem to find a spot where they're fully accepted. The only exceptions to that are the 3 original guilds, which are the 3 original courier services, which are the Slayers, the Gilded Glutton, and the Treasure Hunter's Prize. Those are the only 3 courier companies that exist on Primordial's Landing, and they are not considered courier companies. They are considered mercenary guilds. Everything good?
Yeah. Can you
Okay.
still hear me?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay.
But yeah, in fact, the players in my other campaign are couriers. They work for the Femme Fatale Courier Service under Red, aka the Femme Fatale, named such because because during her younger years she had a certain penchant for killing men that she would.
Well, that's not dangerous at all.
Well, essentially, so there's a reason for it. I hesitate to give Red's backstory out because it's super freaking dark.
I love darkness.
Okay, but before I say this, trigger warning for Be Asian. It's just coming up with a name for them I had a problem with because I don't know enough about Asian naming.
What's the matter, man? Something wrong?
So that's awful.
I know it.
She goes to Miss Lau. Miss Lau reads the letter that was given to her by her dead mentor, and at that point, Red is recruited to be a courier for Miss Lau. She is given a group of people that end up becoming her closest friends, and I can tell you that I can tell you who they were. There was Red. There was Nyx, who got the nickname of Black. There was, I don't think I've come up with an actual name for her yet, but her name is Violet. She was a druid. There was...
Druids are always mischievous.
Blue, which is not her real name, but she doesn't use her real name anymore. Also, that's Blue spelled like the French one. Like Cordon Bleu, like that name.
Yeah.
And then later added to their group was a guy named Edward. Edward Silva, who got the nickname of Silver because he literally had silver hair. But yeah, the party was 3 girls, 2 guys. She hated Nyx she did not like Nyx. She got used to him. Then she ends up being her best friend, is what ends up happening with Nyx. No, they do not have a relationship before anyone asks. I'm not that predictable. He ended up marrying Violet. Nyx is a thing called a blood hunter, which is a thing Zell has had very little interaction with, but would know blood hunters are considered bad. They are dark. You know what have you ever watched The Witcher?
I have actually.
Okay. Blood
I
hunters
watched
are
all of
witchers.
the Witcher.
Blood hunters are witchers.
That's kind of scary.
Blood hunters are basically witchers.
And you said Zell has actually encountered some of them?
No. I mean, Zell may have met one before. It's possible. The military tries to avoid them. They're not well liked, much like actual witchers. They are primarily monster hunters. Some of them are members of courier companies. Most of them are not. Most of them are just part of blood hunter orders, which are much smaller, hidden away type deals. Trying to remember. And then Edward, the whole group kind of didn't like Edward when they first met him, because he was an arrogant fuck.
You kind of get that from the name Edward.
Yeah, he was very arrogant. He was a noble, and it showed. He was very full of himself.
Oh.
And you want to know how they humbled him? The first mission he sent them out, she sent him out with them. She gave the order that they were in charge of him, like fully.
Yeah, that's never good.
Essentially, they made him their maid. They were given Miss Lau told them, humble him. They made him clean up after them. They made him do the dishes. They made him sweep the floors. They made him rearrange freaking furniture. Every menial freaking task they could think of, they made him do.
So they made him a bitch boy.
Yeah, because...
Excuse my French, but they made him a bitch boy.
Again, he was an arrogant fuck. He kinda needed it.
I don't disagree there, that's for sure.
He was incredibly arrogant. He needed some humbling. He ended up with Red. Red and him ended up becoming a couple eventually. I will go into no further detail because Zell would not know that, like, at all, what ends up happening there. Let me put it this way. Red is currently alone. Well, actually, Blue is still with her. But Red is currently alone. I will not go fully into detail of what happened, but like I said, there was an incident where they saved the world, so you can take a couple of guesses what happened to Edward.
Yeah. Without a doubt.
There are some other details too, but I'm going to let those lie. Because, honestly, I think it would be funny if Zell found them out in-game.
Honestly, I agree with you there.
I don't know.
And I honestly feel like Zell and Red are going to wind up running into each other before this game is up.
I mean, it's not impossible, but Red most likely would not come to Hellside unless she was ordered to. And that's very unlikely. Oh, actually, you want to hear do you want to hear one of Red's exploits? That's actually one of my favorite things I ever came up with.
Yeah.
So, in Primordial's Landing, there is a city. I can't remember what I named it. that it only populated by women. The city used to be a slave camp. It was essentially where slavers would hide away women they had captured to be sold into slavery. Those slavers were murdered. Official reports say that a riot broke out and the women killed their captors, which is not entirely untrue, but what actually happened is the slavers made the mistake of catching Red.
And then Red fucking murdered them all.
Well, she murdered a good number of them. The other ladies did. She armed the other ladies and riled them up enough that they murdered the rest of them. She went into the executive office that the head slaver was in, fucking murked him, and then went to sleep in his bed with his dead body still on the ground.
Damn. Alright, so you've definitely got to find a way to make Zell and Red kind of like collide.
I don't think she'd like Zell. I really don't.
I think she would.
It takes a lot for her to like a man. Like,
Well, honestly, I could see that.
She currently tolerates my brother's character. She's not antagonistic to him, but like, they're still not like best buddies. They'll talk, and she will listen to him, but they are not friends.
They agree on certain things.
But Zell and Joker Jack are not a lot.
I think she would like Ariel, because I feel like her and Ariel could, they could definitely relate on several things. I will not go into details.
Yeah, you can't because of this spoiler.
I don't like the term trauma bonding, but they could definitely trauma bond. I think if Red saw how you guys treat Ariel, I think she would be okay with you. I'm not gonna say she would pat you on the back and give you an attaboy, but she would certainly be like, okay, this girl feels safe around these four men. I feel like I can trust them.
Yeah, we definitely. I mean, we may not earn her respect right offhand, but we would definitely earn her trust. And I'll say that, and without trust, you don't have respect and whatever. Without respect, you don't have trust.
I feel like you could
at
get
the same time.
Sorry.
At the same time, I feel like, I mean, basically, like I said, and like you said, it'd be like, well, I mean, if she's feeling this confident in them to where she trusts being around them, which, given, yes, right now in the state, she technically has to be around us because we're all prisoners.
Right.
But at the same time, I feel like we have done gained Ariel's trust and respect because of how we've stood up for her.
I will say Ariel definitely looks at you guys in definitely higher regard than she started. Because, when you started, you were just a bunch of murderers sitting around a table.
Yeah.
Which she was clearly uncomfortable with. But I think, which maybe Zell, like maybe it'll come up in the conversation with Zell, I think that she has definitely, I feel like there has been some softening in her opinion of the boys at this current point. I'm not going to say how much, but I feel like it's definitely a thing of you didn't really like you technically caused her to have a traumatic episode, but it was not your intention.
Exactly. I
And
was checking on her, like I was asking her, like, hey. I mean, I wasn't necessarily even trying to dig. I was just like, hey, I know you going through some shit.
yeah,
Like,
and the thing is the
I'm
mo
like,
the
I know, I can see it in your eyes. You ain't got to say a word. I know
yeah
you're going through it, and I know you really don't want to talk about it. But if you do,
yeah like
I'm all in.
that's the thing. Like the moment that Zell realized what was going on, he backed off and is like, "If you want to talk, I'm here." So I can
Yeah,
appreciate that. A Red could definitely appreciate that, and Ariel can certainly appreciate that. And even out of it, even while she was out of it, she also recognized that you guys immediately jumped to her defense when Father Throm was doing his BS.
ugh, still don't like that guy. Zell, honestly, like right now, Zell still has that thought in his head. Can I shoot him in the face with an arrow somehow,
And get away with it.
make it make it look like an accident and get
I
away with
I don't think that would be possible.
it? I mean, honestly, I know it won't be possible, but the thought is still there.
Oh, of course. I don't blame you. The thought has. I can guarantee you the thought has crossed Yulant's mind too. I can almost guarantee you. I'm sure
Well,
Dominic
yeah, he
has.
grabbed the dude by the throat. He wasn't going to make it look like an accident. He was about to murk that motherfucker.
I am almost positive Yulant has tried to figure out. I'm almost positive Dominic has tried to figure out how can I kill this man and get away with it.
I'm sorry, but I give Joker Jack flashbacks.
Oh yeah, I feel like to a certain extent it had an effect on all of you. Cause like I know bits and pieces about Klaus's backstory. So I know there's a certain part of Klaus that also would have been affected by that. Granted, Patrick was also having internet issues that night, so
Right.
there's no telling if he was actually there for that conversation or if he was still trying to figure out what the frick was up with his audio. Um, but
I
no,
feel like right now, honestly, I mean, I know the whole group has Ariel's best interest at heart, so to speak. But at the same time, like even when Zell was drunk and sitting on the floor at the bar, and Dipstick decided, hey, I'm gonna go over here and flirt with this girl. It doesn't matter what she says or how she says it. I'm gonna do my best to try to take her home.
yeah, that's more or less what
Zell,
it goes.
Zell, Zell was drunker than all, Cooter Brown.
Mm-hmm.
But if Ulant had not beat me to it, Zell was gonna jump up and like throw his entire body weight into this serpent man and get him away from Eric.
Oh yeah, I don't blame you for that. Like, I'm actually excited for you guys to interact with Hessick more.
Well, yeah, because
Because
now he's got freaking
I just
character.
I just want to see what stupid
What?
things happen when you guys interact with him.
I don't think.
um. Yeah. Let's see. Is there anything else?
Right. Sorry.
Well, like
You can continue.
I don't know if Ariel like full on sees the guys as friends yet. I'm not going to say for sure because let's just that should be definitely saved for in game. But I feel like there's definitely been a
Yeah.
softening of these guys.
There's definitely been a softening, and she kind of feels a protectiveness
Yeah, it's
from
definitely
the
it's
from the
definitely
rest of us.
sorry. It's definitely a thing of these guys barely know me and immediately jump to my defense. Like that's
So it may not be as bad as what I initially led them to be.
yeah. I'm still excited for you to interact with Ariel. Ariel in the
I'm
next
still worried.
section.
I'm not worried. All right, so I'm not worried about it, but nervous does not leave my mind.
Oh, I don't blame you cuz how do you start how do you have the conversation of, "Yeah, sorry, I just saw the vicious scars on your back. Hey, you want to talk about it?"
Right? Like, oh, hey, there's marks on your back. I realized them. They are from a whip. Um, how and who did that to you? Like, I mean,
Um
I got teeth.
I'm going to say that there will definitely be some checks with your conversation with Ariel. No matter what happens, there are going to be checks. Like if you try to get
Oh,
information
without
out
a doubt.
there, if you try to get her to talk about the scars, there will be a check. If you try to get her to leave the room, there's probably going to be a check. Granted, if I think you make a good enough argument, I might just skip the check altogether. But again, you guys have known.
Yeah, but I still feel like
But yeah,
there's still going to be checks.
you guys have only known each
Her
other.
defense is way up right now.
Yeah, and again, you guys have only known each other for 2 days.
Right.
Granted,
Yeah, we fought wolves together, but that's nothing.
Yeah. I will say that Zell probably, like, while he was in the military, was, like you said, he was probably one of the forward camps. He was probably one of the forward encampments. I would like to say, remind me, what was the first name you came up with for Zell's rival / childhood friend?
Alright, so
I know the last name was Longfellow.
are you talking about? Oh man, the name?
Yes. I know the last name was Longfellow. What was the first name?
Oh god. Oh shit. I'm gonna have to remember that.
Well,
I'm gonna go ahead and go on the record and say that was a drinking contest of go.
But yeah, you haven't brought them up in game yet, like, so.
No, but
You don't?
like you said here a while back, nobody really has. I mean, nobody's talked about our dreams.
That is very true. There's been one comment made about the dreams, but who knows?
And it was shot down immediately.
Yeah. Maybe other things will happen that will bring those dreams back into scope. Who knows? I know, because I'm the dungeon master.
And I'm honestly like, I'm kind of excited and curious as to where those dreams are headed.
Oh, me too. I have so many things
Like-
planned.
I really don't feel like that's the last part of that dream that we're gonna have.
Your assumptions, your assumptions may have merit. I love getting existential with my players. I love it so much because nothing fills a person with dread more than not understanding what the fuck is going on.
See, that's mankind in general. Like, the unknown
It's very
has always
true.
been a problem for mankind.
I've stated before, I don't know if I've stated it on podcast or in game. One of my main goals in any campaign I run is to make each of my players cry at least once. And I don't mean that in a sadistic way. What I mean is I want to make them care about my characters and my world to the point that when something bad happens to someone or something they like, it actually has an effect on them. I want to be able to make my players feel real feelings for a fictional world. And the best way to do that is to make them cry. My other goals is, if I can creep you the fuck out, I'm doing a good job.
You've already done that with Uza.
Oh god, Uza. You know, the demon and devil genitals thing was an off-the-cuff remark. I didn't think anyone would take it seriously. Dom jumped on that grenade, and I had to reward him somehow.
Yeah, but I mean, even if you would have done the genitals thing and this, that, and the other,
I mean, she's supposed
just talking to Uza, bro, like, it's just, ugh. Like, how can I end this conversation quick and get the hell out of here?
Hang on, let's go to Uza's shop real quick. Ta-da! The viewers can see it. You can't really see it, but I changed over to Uza's shop on my OBS.
She's at the right far corner somewhere.
No, if in all honesty, in this picture, which the viewers can't see it, there's a bubbling cauldron in the center of this picture. You can see it on the Discord image itself. Uza is most likely in that cauldron.
A crazy, sadistic, psychotic, everlasting being popping their head out of the middle of that cauldron.
Very
With a smile and a laugh.
Dude, I wanted to give mad scientist vibes, and I think I pulled it off.
You did. Kudos to you, brother. You did.
Thank you. I wanted
Because
to.
as soon as we walked into Uza's shop and you described it, I'm like, let's get the hell out of here.
The funniest thing
This
about
was a mistake. Let's get the hell out of here.
the funniest thing about that is that when Cora asked after you left that shop for the first time after meeting Uza, raise her hand if you're creeped out right now. Zell was the only one who didn't.
Right. Well, alright. Alright, so in character, I had to make him seem, because, honestly, this is my opinion. When you said describe your character, I feel like I didn't do as good a job as the others describing their character.
Right.
And I made him seem like knocked down, beaten down, weak, and humble. Well, humble is actually a good thing, but still.
I mean, to be fair, based on the backstory you gave me for Zell, he could use a little bit of humbling.
That's true too. But at the same time, when you said who's creeped out by this, and I was like, I kind of want to raise my hand. I really want to raise my hand, but you know what? I'm just gonna hold it down here. I got the power to hold it down here, make them think, hey, what has this motherfucker seen?
Also, I also love the fact that tingly things keep happening to Zell.
He does it. Yeah, he does that shocking feeling almost in everything he does, and
I
it's like, hey,
I
what
think
the hell's going on? Like,
I think at this point Zell might have taken the most damage in the campaign
Hey, Joker Jack.
yes, I no doubt, no
because
doubt, Zell
because
has taken the most damage.
he took damage. He took damage before they even did anything.
Yes, because of his mouth.
He took the most damage during the fight with the wolves.
Yes,
And then every time something
I don't remember if I took damage during the bar fight.
You did not, to my knowledge.
Well, no, I took a little bit of damage because I was drunk.
Right.
But I mean, other than that, I don't think I took damage during the bar fight. But yes, every other aspect where damage was inflicted, it's aimed at Zell.
Which, to be fair, you and Yulant are kind of the tanks of the party. So it kind of makes sense that you both take the most damage.
Yeah, I'm more of a twig.
Yes.
Yeah, well, to be fair, with mage armor, you're definitely a lot better off now.
But still funny. I didn't take any damage. I just kicked the wolf in the muzzle.
Also, everybody, my brother's here now.
Hi.
I don't know how much longer we're going to be on, but
It was
but yeah, Zell has definitely taken the most damage in the campaign so far. Yulant is a close second. Yulant's
But it hasn't slowed him down none, neither.
Yeah. I will say I will not count self-inflicted damage for most damage dealt because Yulant has abilities that deal damage to himself to activate.
Yeah.
Self-inflicted damage has its own category.
Yeah, that's true too.
And I also recognize we haven't got to use the little stones on your guys' necks very much yet.
Except for me and Klaus.
Yeah, except for you and Klaus for mouthing off during the opening ceremony.
Yeah, everybody behave.
I will say you guys have done a very good job behaving. Honestly,
Well, alright, go ahead.
honestly, Yulant, if one of the house heads had been there, Yulant absolutely would have gotten hit with the with the stone. Like they would have activated they would have triggered the thing in his neck to deal damage.
Talking about when he went after
When he went after
Polythrom's throat.
Yeah, absolutely. He would have they would have activated it at that point.
Okay, so during that time, I don't know if you heard me because Dom jumped into it and grabbed Father Thrawn by the throat.
I did hear you. It's just because of what Yulant's backstory is, I kind of felt he would have just straight up run up and done what he did.
Yeah.
That was sort of a judgment call. I wasn't going to stop Zell from talking. It's just Lightbringer Gleam would have immediately tried to de-escalate the situation. So I do apologize.
Yeah, but honestly, I don't feel like that would have stopped Zell.
I am curious what Zell was going to try and do.
Because Zell was ready to shove a trident through that motherfucker's throat. Like,
That might have
I may not be as strong. I may not be as strong as you want. Because I don't feel like Zell is as strong as you want. I really don't.
I think
But
canonically you'd be right.
the only reason I don't think he is as strong as Yulant is because Yulant has this darkness inside of him that gives him extra power, so to speak.
Yeah.
And Zell only has his hands and his resources around him to his advantage, whereas Yulant has, like the Winter Soldier effect, pretty much. Uh, and he has these powers, like the mystical. What is it? The
Well of Darkness is what
well of darkness. Yeah,
is what
I was gonna
Yuan's
say
abilities
realm
are.
of darkness, but that didn't sound right.
I mean, it's very similar. But yeah, so obviously we're getting more Dark Knight lore in the next session. Um,
Right.
which, uh, I hope I did a good job of the Dark Knight lore. Because I have another week, or I have at least until Monday. We'll see. We'll see what happens with the guys. We'll ask if they're up for trying to play on Monday. Because next Monday that has to be the day we play. Because I have no other days that are good for me.
Eh.
Yeah.
But where was I going with this? I
Couldn't tell you.
hope the lore that I came up with for the Dark Knights is interesting, and I hope it goes somewhere, because I'm kind of flying by the seat of my pants on that one, because like I have the framework of what I want it to be. It really depends on where Dominic decides to pull it, you know?
And that is $1 million question in its own because I feel like you could throw a frame, like you said, a frame at just about anybody in this group, and we could take it and build a mansion.
Yeah. Well, that's the fun part about D&D. It's just throwing shit out there and seeing where people take it. Like, I threw out the missing children thing, not 100% sure if you guys would immediately jump on it. And you
And as
guys,
soon as you did, me and Dom was like, "Hey, what do you mean?"
yeah, it's like, I knew you guys would ask questions about it. I didn't think you would go full investigation mode the moment you heard it. Good lord.
Well, honestly, for me, I mean, it's just like, you know, hey, there's kids involved. No, that ain't right because
Yeah.
Zell's a good guy.
I knew if Joker had been there, he absolutely would have jumped on it, because that's just part of his character.
I
And
mean,
that's why I think Lamont jumped on it the way he jumped on it because of the situation with the holy man that he killed
Right.
to get in prison.
the Joker
You
is
know,
a symbol of joy. Yeah,
children were
totally.
Oh,
involved.
yeah.
I'm not going to go any further into detail than that, but
Yeah. But yeah, I'm glad you guys grabbed onto that as quickly as possible. I'm also just it's fun to throw things out there and just let you guys run with it. Although I try to live by this, I try to live by the rule of a well kept secret is a bad secret.
yeah, I can see that.
A well-kept secret is a bad secret, and the reason that is because you can have the most interesting backstory in the world, but it doesn't mean anything if you never bring it up.
Yeah, if nobody can like scratch at it or dig into it, then what's the point of it?
That's kind of why I've made Ariel this mystery for you guys to solve. I want her to not just be a party member, but I have multiple reasons for Ariel being there. I have a lot of I had a really cool idea of what I wanted the story of the campaign to be. And so far we're going down that path. And because it's a relatively shorter campaign, and I'm going to say this ahead of time, it is a relatively shorter campaign. I can't tell you how long it's going to be. Maybe it'll make it to the 20 episode mark. Maybe it'll make it to the 30 episode mark. I don't know, but what I can say is with a shorter campaign, you kind of have to run it on rails a little bit.
Yeah.
Because when you have a defined endpoint, which is, you guys have a defined endpoint, it's 2 years. I have to know what I'm doing for that endpoint. When you have a defined endpoint,
right.
you have to have spots that must be hit to reach that point. There can be some leeway in between. You want a great example of a shorter campaign where they knew what the final boss battle was going to be, but the players still had choice? For the love of God, go to the Unexpectables on YouTube, watch the Prince Division. It is, first off, great campaign. I love it so much. Great players. But it's a little bit over 50 episodes long. And from beginning to end, they knew it was going to be a shorter campaign. If it hadn't have been for if it had not have been for multiple cancellations and them adding in another show that switched out for it bi-weekly on the channel, they would have finished it even sooner than they finished it. Like, it would have been even shorter. Not to mention there were a couple of moments that ended up in the campaign that were not planned in the slightest that extended that campaign. There was a moment where a Nat 20 ended up screwing up what was supposed to happen, and it extended the campaign by about 4 sessions.
Well, see, I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean, you roll a die, and you don't know what it's going to turn up.
I love stories people tell of, like, the worst Nat 1 or the best Nat 20. Let me hear your worst Nat 20, because good lord.
We rolling pretty often in this campaign.
What had happened was,
I'm just saying.
I'm gonna try and be as vague as possible. What had happened is that the characters were in a fight pit that was technically rigged, and they were told this specific person has to win his fights. And the thing is the player who was in the ring meant to let him win. And then he rolled a nat 20.
Yeah.
The attempt to make...
But I mean... Go ahead.
It was hilarious, dude. Honestly.
Yeah, I mean, but that, like I said, that's where, you gotta let the die land where they roll. I mean...
Sometimes the die wants to...
be...
Sometimes the die wants to tell a story.
Right? Exactly. We could be one roll away from finishing the entire campaign, or continuing, depending on that roll.
Exactly.
And say, hey, you roll anything less than a nat 20, this ends the campaign through and through. But you roll a nat 20, it's going to last at least another 4 to 6 sessions.
Right.
Well, honestly, with the way our campaign has been going, I kind of feel like somebody in that moment would hit a nat 20.
I in a game called Hellside, eventually, obviously, at some point, you're going to go to hell. Like, I mean, that's you kind of expect it, right?
I mean, it wouldn't be Hillside
I mean,
without that.
and obviously, like, I'm gonna let you guys on a secret. There's only one way I can end this campaign if we can make it to that point, and that's just I'm gonna have you guys get into a massive fight with an army of demon and devils. Come on!
That we literally can't get out of.
I'm gonna have you guys with probably with the entire town of Hellside at your backs fighting against the legions of hell itself.
Like, literally at the gate, with it wide open, with any and every hell creature, or hell-inflicted creature, or person.
Right.
I mean, hell, I'm not going to say it's just going to be creatures that we fight, because honestly, I don't feel like it's just going to be creatures. I feel like we're going to run amongst individuals fighting, like coming from that side,
Absolutely.
that are fighting for that side, that are going to be twice as hard, if not 10 times as hard, as 90% of the creatures that we come into contact with before then.
Exactly. Like, obviously, like, by that point in the campaign, like, I gotta throw something terrifying at you guys. I have plans.
Like Mercedes himself.
I have plans. But what you guys do to get to that point, that's the interesting stuff.
That determines how that point comes into play.
Exactly.
And where that point comes into play.
I'm looking forward to the rest of the campaign. I'm dying to see what you guys do. And again, like, if you guys want to do a sequel playing as these characters at some point, or even just a one shot, like later down the road, where you guys bring these characters back for like just a mission or something, I would freaking love to do that, dude.
Well, yeah, because I mean, the people that actually do look into this video, or this sequence of videos, this campaign, and they're like, that's actually the true diehard fans that actually follow this campaign from start to finish, they're gonna be like, so that's it.
Which,
Like,
that actually kind of...
what? No, I need more.
Well, that's why I'm planning on doing multiple different types of campaigns. I don't want to just do D&D. I'm going to do more D&D, because D&D was the first tabletop game that really got me into this sort of thing. But, like, I want to be able to, like, play all kinds of different games. Like, I've got ideas for a game using a system called Fabula Ultima, which is basically just Final Fantasy, the tabletop game. Even though there is actually a Final Fantasy tabletop game that exists now based on the MMO, it's actually really good. I've been watching a playthrough of it on a Twitch channel. It's really good. It's very cool.
But
That's pretty good.
But I've also got ideas for, like, I have worlds that I'd love to explore in a tabletop game, because I got my start on the internet through fan fiction. I wrote... If you go to fanfiction.net and look up the name Towermon222, you will find multiple Digimon fanfictions, a Street Fighter fanfiction, just this list of fanfictions that I wrote because I love I love exploring not just worlds that I create in my head, but also these worlds that I watch on TV. I would love to run a game set in the world of Digimon. I would love to run a game set in the world of Ruby. I would love to run games set in other worlds that I've created. I have a whole Fallout-inspired world that involves humanoid animal people. I call it After. It's this whole post-apocalyptic thing that I got the idea from a Nintendo DS game I played. Dude, I've got so many ideas.
Okay.
Well, I can't speak for everybody else, but I can speak for me because, I love doing this.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I love getting off after work, hooking up on the, Discord with you and online with you or however you want to professionally pronounce it. But, like, getting on here with you and, just like tonight, we didn't play our campaign, we didn't do our D&D, but we covered stuff from our D&D and also like just things around that interested both of us to start off.
Oh, yeah.
And yes, a lot of what we talked about kind of just like detoured back to our characters.
Yeah.
Well, my character specifically, but
yeah, lots of Zell stuff tonight.
lots of Zell stuff, which I'm okay with. It may be a selfish kind of thing, but I'm okay with it.
But yeah,
But like for real, like I enjoy getting on here and just talking with you about it. Or hell, like if you wanted to start some other kind of tabletop with, if nobody else, me and you.
The thing is there are.
I mean, it would probably be kind of hard and a little bit on the boringer side, blah. But
you would think that, but there are some really interesting single player. There's some really interesting like 2-player tabletop RPG games that are really cool. I've really gotten into studying tabletop RPG games. It's very interesting how many of them there are out there that are right up my alley.
Well, you can ask me,
I know.
Well, see, that would be something, I would be willing to do. Like, I would I would love to do that, actually. Because I enjoy it so much.
I want to run some one-shots. That way we're not just doing podcasts whenever we don't have all the players. The issue is I really need to come up with some plots for those one-shots. Because right now, most of the one-shots I have are planned for the other campaign. And part of the time, I write one-shots in the thought of there are going to be some moments in the campaign where I feel like my players are going to say, we need a breather. Can we do something lighthearted for a little bit?
Right.
Because, like, I know that with how goofy my players is, this does not exactly feel like a dark fantasy campaign. Give it time, it's getting there, I promise you.
Oh, I no doubt about it.
right now.
You also got to think with our campaign. I can't speak with your other campaigns, but with this campaign, Hellside, brother, we ain't even scraped the icing off the top of the cake.
I have managed to make both my brother and Brittany uncomfortable in the other campaign. I know what I'm doing. I have not managed to make you cry yet.
It's Quartz.
I know. The thing is, I'm not trying to make Quartz cry. I'm trying to make Steven cry. I'm not trying to make Quartz cry. I'm trying to make Steven cry. I'm not worried about, like, if I know there's ways to make Quartz
He don't give a damn about the character. He wants the guy behind the character.
And that'd be
Like,
tough.
he wants to so deep it hits home.
Oh, I have some ideas of how to do it. I'm scared of the results. I think there is a chance that if I'm not careful, I'd have to call the game after he starts crying.
Or yeah.
That's my biggest fear, because I want to make him cry, but I don't want to make him cry to the point where he can't play.
There is a certain limit.
Yeah, my brother has my brother has trouble regulating some emotions, and sadness is one of them. I don't want.
See, okay. I can honestly, I can say without a doubt, if you are about to make me cry because of something that's happened, 90%, and this is maybe revealing a deep secret for me and technically for Zell, and you're gonna eat this up and run with it. I know you will.
It's my
But
bird.
if something like, all right, so we've already got a clan, like, might as well say
Mhm,
we've got a group,
Mm-hmm.
mhm.
and me personally, and I know Zell feels the same. But if something was to happen to us, big deal,
Right.
tough shit, whatever. Something happens to somebody that we're close to that we cannot control or not be able to change, that's gonna hit deep.
Oh, I know.
And it's not. I mean, yes, I may sob a little. Not gonna lie, I'm okay with it. Admit that.
Oh, I know the feeling.
Not gonna lie,
Mm.
Yeah, I know.
I
The
may
feeling.
sob a little, but it's gonna take that sadness and that fear, and it's gonna take it and it's gonna twist it. It's gonna shove it in the ass end of a rocket, and it's gonna skyrocket through the freaking atmosphere into anger.
Oh, I'm sure. Note to
And
self:
then,
make you like all NPCs. Got it.
and it's going to literally take, and when it turns to anger, at that point, I won't be able to control it. Like, it will literally become a bloodbath. Zell's just gonna, like, if it happens, okay, so if it happens to Zell, which now I know it probably will, but
I saw him take notes.
if it happens to Zell, it's liable to turn into a major bloodbath. Like,
So I will
you ever
say
heard the story of, you ever heard the story of Wyatt Earp?
yes.
Yes.
Okay. You know when he walks across the river and just starts blasting motherfuckers with, like, no consent whatsoever,
Yes.
Yeah.
nothing's touching him, like, all right, so he even talks about it in the Bible, like, not trying to get religious or nothing, because I
Right.
don't know
Yeah.
people's beliefs, but, you know, it talks about a man on a horse charging into battle, and hell followed with him,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and he's untouchable,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and he kills anything and everything that moves.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's gonna be me.
So essentially, you would be the song "Hell's Coming with Me."
Yes.
Oh, I completely understand. Now, again, like, I'm not doing it in a malicious way. I'm trying to tell a story, obviously.
But if
Right.
but if I'll be waiting to see a comment. Why do you kill my favorite character? How dare you?
To be fair, we've yet to have any comments, which actually I wanted to bring up. I think what I'm going to do is, from now on, after I post a video, I'm going to send you guys the links, and if you have any... Do you have, like, a Facebook or a Twitter or anything like that?
Yeah.
If you could post the link, like, just copy and paste the link onto a post on any of those, I would be grateful. Like, just come check out
I'll start
our...
doing that.
Huh?
I'll start doing that
Yeah.
for sure.
Just like, come check out our D&D game or our podcast, that sort of thing. This is probably not a great one to start with, because, whoo boy. I mean, again, I called this dark fantasy. You've heard Red's backstory now. I try not to get too graphic with it, but again, she was stuck in the brothel of terrible people.
She done what she had to survive.
She did what she had to survive. She was stuck in that place.
And then just kind of took it a little.
Yeah, she was stuck in that place
Extra.
for 3 years. She started out at 13. And the only reason for those ages is mainly so that it works with the timeline, because there's other stuff that I came up with later that relates back to it, and I had to figure out what ages she would have actually been during those specific parts of her life.
Right.
Again, I recognize that her backstory could use some reworking. And it's not great. And yes, she is in fact covered in scars.
Lots of them.
The only part of her
Well, I mean,
body
that's a given.
the only part of her body that is not completely covered in scars is her face, which only has one, which is the one that guy left on her face the night she escaped from the brothel. Just about
the initial drive.
Yeah, just about every inch of her back is scarred. She still has scars from when she tried to self-endgame.
Yeah.
And she does have some scars on her chest. She usually wears clothes that hides most of them, but not all of them. When I revealed exactly how scarred she was to both Brittany and Steven, they knew she was scarred. They did not realize how scarred I'd made her.
Brittany was uncomfortable.
Right.
Yeah. Let me put it this way. If Red were a real person and knew that I was her creator, she would kill me.
I won't help you on that part.
She would murder me. She would harm me in the most vicious way possible, make me beg for death, and then only give it to me after she decided I had earned it.
I won't help you.
It's probably what never happened.
Exactly. Red would murder me if she were a real person. A lot of my characters would, to be honest. I think a lot of the characters I've created are kind of traumatized. Not all of them, just a lot of the ones I use as NPCs.
But I also told you, not trying to cut you off again,
Oh, go ahead.
but I also told you the way I would react and the way Zell would react to something happened to somebody close to us. You made the remark, make him close to all NPCs. Got you. Right? Okay. Well, with that remark, I will tell you this. Yes, he would have a reaction. Say he got close to it, some of these NPCs. Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Especially Ariel. Ariel would probably be in the same class as like Eulant and Klaus and Joker Jack and even Bubbles. I would definitely include Bubbles in that.
Well, the thing with Bubbles is if he dies, he can just be brought back.
By Joker.
Yeah, but still, you do something, my little dragon friend, I'm gonna make you wish you were never born.
That's fair.
Joker will beat you to it.
Also fair.
I can shoot faster than you can move. But anyway, with the NPCs, I would react, but I would not react tenfold like I would somebody in our group, which at this point in time, I've done went to battle with these people.
Hmm.
I have done slept in the same room as these people.
You have
I have
prayed with
done
these
shared a
people.
meal with these people. These
Yes.
people are family.
Right.
You
That
fuck with family?
that is a very soldier mentality. I think that definitely works for Zell.
You fuck with family and the creator, I can't remember the name, but the one that created,
This is
not created the gods, could not save you.
Right. Um. Oh, I
You
definitely
fuck
get
with
that.
an NPC, I'm just gonna fuck you up.
Yeah. I will ask this. Currently, who is your favorite NPC?
Who's my current favorite NPC?
Yes.
Mm.
I'm very curious.
Mm. Uh, and you're probably gonna be shocked with this, but probably I would have to say my my top three favorite NPCs in Hellside in our campaign
Yes.
is the blacksmith,
Darwin.
Darwin. Um, this is hard. Um, the barmaiden, the
Mirabelle.
waitress.
Mirabelle.
well,
I love her.
he shot me.
Don't you tell me to hold my fire.
I'm getting down. I'm getting down.
All right, who's number 3?
Mostly because she peppered Joker Jack's ass because he decided to climb the walls.
Yeah.
Um, number three, uh, would have to be the vampire chick.
Victoria. Ooh. Yeah, I think I was going to originally make you guys wait longer to figure out she was a vampire, but eventually I was like, she's at a bar, she has no food in front of her, and she can't just rip open a person and drink from their neck. She's gonna drink some blood right now.
I'm sorry, but when
But
somebody,
I also think that you was not thinking because me and you Zell and you were the ones that went up and talked to her.
Yeah.
I don't think you took into consideration the chance of the role because
Well, I mean,
uh,
I figured I had a feeling you'd probably get the role because like your perception is freaking ridiculous. But like
and if I'm not mistaken, I'm proficient in perception.
you are.
yeah,
It was sort of a thing of I want to hint at the fact that she's a vampire or just let them figure it out, so I'm going to give them a chance to smell what's in her drink. Also, I left the hint when you said I'm sorry if I'm interrupting your dinner. I made the comment, there's no food in front of her. That was one of my hints that she's not.
Yeah, that's true.
Actually, since you're here, Steven, who are your 3 favorite NPCs?
oh god. Let's see. The most one that creeped me out.
Uza?
Yep.
I don't blame you. She's fun.
And the one.
I'm not gonna lie. Uzo was like a close third.
That's very
The one that shot me.
Mirabelle.
And the mayor.
Third? Really?
The fourth one's the Warren.
Though I like the fact that you brought up the warden.
Yeah.
I wanted the warden to be this sort of this figure that gave off this energy of you can trust me, but at the same time I'm doing a job.
Yep. But be honest.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right?
I'm glad you like the warden. If I had to pick my three favorite NPCs at this current point in time, oh god, it's like picking my children. Ariel and Uza are definitely on that. Ariel and Uza are definitely on that list. Cause I like the story I'm building with Ariel, and Uza's just fun.
I do too.
Uza is just fun. She is chaos incarnate, and I love her. And honestly, I have to say my third is probably Korra.
I do like Korra.
But speaking of which, but I know this character cannot be in this campaign. But after Mr. Sweets is real, I can see him right now in the chorus sobbing.
So, for any of you guys who don't know, Mr. Sweets is one of my brother's other D&D characters that he has created, who is a skeleton wizard, if I remember correctly.
No, I think he's a bard.
Okay, skeleton bard, who he really wanted to use for this campaign, and my god, I wish I could have, but he's a skeleton. This is 5 years before the current campaign, and even 5 years from now, undead are still not exactly treated as people.
I think he'd be alive back then. I'm not
Okay, what are they going to do? Grow moss and use it as flesh?
It's more of a thing of if a skeleton commits a crime, they're not going to arrest it. Doesn't matter if it's talking. They're gonna kill it.
Oh, we found this skeleton.
They're going to feed it to the damn dogs.
Right?
Oh, we found this talking skeleton in the cell. What are we going to do with it?
That's another thing he shot at me of.
Hey, my dog needs a treat. There you go.
What if he was, what if the skeleton was just in the cell? Which, honestly, is just a hilarious idea. And, maybe if Joker Jack dies, which I'm not hoping for it, maybe if Joker Jack dies, we'll explore that. But let's not wish that upon your character, okay?
No, I'm not wishing for it. I'm sorry, but I can't imagine Rusty being in this game, but I know he won't.
Rusty couldn't have worked for a different reason. Rusty is my brother's goblin character. Goblin artificer.
Hold on. Someone missed him by Rusty.
Okay.
Rusty.
So, alright, so, like you said, you wouldn't wish it upon Joker Jack to die, but if he did, maybe using the skeleton as his replacement.
The
only way I would be okay with that is if he still had Joker Jack's mentality, his mindset,
if you think
as
Joker,
quirky and psychotic as Joker Jack is.
If you think Joker Jack if you think Joker Jack is quirky and psychotic, Mr. Sweets puts Joker Jack to shame.
Yeah.
The skeleton puns get annoying, though.
I'm sorry.
I mean, all I gotta do at that point is stick his head to a fucking tree.
You're not wrong. But I have
And then come back later and be like, listen, you done jabber jawing? Get it? Jabber jaw. Where you just going?
yeah. I I will say that I have plans if any of your characters die. They are meant so I have
But we got an idea for a Halloween special, maybe.
because a lot of the stuff I have built is built around the characters that you are currently playing. If your characters die, I have plans to possibly let them keep going. I'm not going to explain what those plans are, but resurrection exists in my world, and there are other forces at play at all times. So
Alright, so if Zell dies, I want him to come back as a llama.
I don't think that's possible, but that is funny.
Llama.
Or an alpaca.
I'm still fine. People
This
still.
isn't poison.
That
This is
spit,
essence of.
that spit acidic arrows.
I still think it's fine. People still find Joker's rat.
Well, I mean, you randomly decided that you summoned a rat because you didn't understand how the familiar mechanics worked.
He was drunk.
I found your rat, by the way.
I know.
I'm curious.
He's still in the pub.
I'm curious if Zell is going to mention that to Joker. For now, he's still in the pub.
He's having a good time. He's got free food.
If that motherfucker literally finds his way to our house, or our room, I'm going to shoot it with a short gun.
Like, I don't... I didn't know what I was going to do with the rat, but now I'm just going to make it a thing that occasionally you will see, and maybe Joker Jack is like, what the fuck do I do about that? I'm not supposed to be able to do that. I'm not supposed to have two familiars. What the fuck do I do with it?
It's a random
And then
rat.
that's when Zell walks up and says, "Wow, we eat it." Klaus, you hungry?
I'm sure Klaus has eaten worse.
Did you know Klaus ain't gonna turn down food?
Huh?
He said, we know.
I said, because you know Klaus ain't gonna turn down food.
No, he isn't. I can guarantee you Klaus has eaten worse.
I'm swearing.
Exactly.
I think he thinks he's.
So Zell's just gonna walk up and shoot the motherfucker and be like, "Alright, let's roast this motherfucker." Klaus, you hungry?
Oh, you guys still have a demon heart. You guys still have an imp heart.
That, are you kidding? That's his lunch.
You can technically cook it. You can give it, as long as you have someone who can cook, which Mirabelle can cook. A quick
That
reminder
is
that
true.
also a quick reminder that Mirabelle is 3 feet tall. Her shotgun is bigger than she is.
But I'm not at the bar right now, so technically I can't be like, "Hey, I need you to cook this up for my friend over there." You know, the short one with the fucking 4-foot mustache. Yeah. So I can't do that because I'm across town at the third house, slipping into our room to find Ariel.
Yes. And I am so excited to see how that conversation goes.
What is that person supposed to look like a child?
I'm kind of excited to see how that conversation goes.
The person who's supposed to look like a child, she's still in the bar. She is fucking plastered at the moment, but she's still in the bar.
I got me a plan for her.
She looks like a child.
Oh god.
So as Victoria pointed out, she is a gnome, which is why she's so small. She's about, much like the barmaid, she's about 3 feet tall. She passes for a 9-year-old, essentially.
I got me a plan for her.
So hey, that reminds me. And this will be more of an in-game. This is kind of a looking forward, not necessarily a spoiler alert, but I also have plans for her. She
I
can make herself be a child.
Yeah, and be used as bait.
We're under we're under an investigation right now, and I will leave it at that.
Yeah.
I I love I was curious who would jump on that first. It occurred to me recently. It occurred to me recently that that was a
It
possibility.
occurred to me recently as well.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, yes, the first thing, one of the first cases I'm going to have them deal with involves missing children.
And the children.
Wait a minute, I have an NPC who looks like a child.
Exactly.
Joker Jack's mind said, "Children are the symbol of joy. Somebody's kidnapped them. Somebody's going to die."
And I'm going to involve you on. I'm going to have him put me up high enough to where I will not be seen. And we're going to see what happens.
Well, the main thing is you need to find a place where you know she's gonna get got. Because right now you don't have any kind of pattern on the locations that they've been taken from. The one was taken at the church, one was taken from the farm, from the fields, and one was taken from their
Someone was
own,
taking routes back down in the middle of town.
yeah, right from their backyard. Like, there's no real correlation between where they're being taken from. Their ages are all different. Like, there's not really a... You don't really have much to go on at the moment. Which, I'm not going to say you can't do that plan. I'm definitely not saying you can't do that plan. Because...
Well, I'm not going to say it's going to happen soon. It's just going to happen.
Yeah, I kind of felt this would happen. And if it does end up happening... I will be very interested to see how you guys pull it off, because you have to convince her to help you.
I mean, we got about.
I'm also proficient in persuasion.
It's true.
But we got three guys are basically good at their job.
And if I can't convince her, one of the others will.
I will say, what... Do you remember what your charisma is? Because I don't.
I think it's a -1.
Do you have a -1 to charisma?
I believe so.
Good lord. Okay, so I will say that
Hang
the highest charismas in the party at this current point in time are Joker Jack, because he's a warlock, and
Yeah, I'm a -1.
and Eulant. Eulant also has very high charisma.
I mean, I have like I don't know what the number below. I guess it's not the numbers we picked. I have an 8 in charisma,
Yeah, the 8.
but I also have a -1.
So how the D&D stats work is, you have a bigger number that gives you a modifier. Anything below 10 starts giving you negatives. At 10, you have a nothing bonus.
+0,
Yeah, 10 is +0. 10
which is what I have in intelligence.
Yeah, 10 to 11 is +0. 12 to 13 is +1.
Is a +1.
14 to 15 is +2. 16 to 17 is +3. 18 to 19 is +4. And 20 is +5.
Because even though, and that's like with my stealth. With my stealth, I was a +6, and then we went on to this new character sheet, new rules or whatever. I'm
Yes.
still a +4.
Which, that's still very good, and I mean, the advantage that you had in the forest is, like, it was good, but, like, now you don't really have to worry about it.
Right.
But a +4 is still really good for stealth, and that's mainly because your dexterity is your best stat. Because you have an 18 in it, Mr. I chose Weapon Master. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, he took the Weapon Master feat. As a fighter, it's basically useless other than being a free stat increase.
I still pick what I pick.
I have a plus. Alright, so Zale has a +4 in dexterity. I have a +4 in strength, and I'm proficient in strength. I have a +3 in constitution. I'm proficient in constitution.
Now remember, those are mostly saving throws, is what you're reading.
Well, yeah. That's literally saving throws.
Yes. Saving throws are basically
What?
saving throws are what you roll if someone like casts the spell on you.
Yeah.
So that's what those
Which,
are for.
yeah, I'm immune to fails, I believe.
You
Or
have
something like that.
you have advantage against you have
Charmed.
you have advantage against charmed. Yes, if someone tries to cast charm person on you, you roll 2 dice and take the higher number.
Right.
I got me a new spell.
Yes, you. My brother got a new spell. He now has Hex, which is essentially. Some of the D&D nerds out there are gonna get mad at me if I say this, but it is Hunter's Mark for Warlock. I know a lot of people are mad at Hunter's Mark right now because they made the Ranger class in 5.5 revolve around it. Like, it is... Ranger... What they did to Ranger in 5.5 has made a lot of people unhappy.
They buffed it, or
Some people will call it a buff, some people will call it a debuff, some people will call it you literally just took everything from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything and made it the bog standard and then took away all of the flavor from it and making it what the frick is this class? The Ranger doesn't feel like it has a purpose, essentially.
Right.
Which is actually part of the reason it's kind of good you didn't pick Ranger. For the people watching, when Daniel said he wanted to play an elven archer in the campaign, I asked him, do you want to be Aragorn or Legolas? He said Aragorn. I know, you said Legolas.
No, that's not Legolas.
Yeah, it's like, do you want to be Aragorn or Legolas? He said Legolas. I'm like, alright, you're not a ranger then. You are a fighter. Because...
Legolas is badass.
I will die on this hill. Aragorn is a ranger. Legolas is a fighter who uses a bow. Fight me.
Motherfucker, you break my bow, I'm gonna come at you with whatever I've got.
Right? But yeah, like... So, when he wanted to make his character, I'm like, do you want Legolas Archer, or do you want Aragorn? Or do you want Aragorn Ranger? And he's like, I want Legolas Archer. Okay, Battlemaster Fighter it is. And if you guys have not... I know a lot of people are mad at Wizards of the Coast, but we also know there are ways to get the Wizards of the Coast stuff without paying for it. I'm not going to name it here. We all know it exists, though. If you guys want to look at the 5.5 stuff, look at Fighter. Admittedly, not a lot has changed. But the buffs and benefits they have given Fighter make it so much more fun, so much more crunchy, so many more choices, so many more things you can do with your freaking turn. They have... The Fighter has vastly improved, is what I will say. It has not improved as much as the monk has improved. The monk is terrifying.
And also,
The monk is, yeah.
and anybody don't like how I play Warlock, tough.
Yeah, you're. But to anybody who's infuriated by the way that my brother plays Warlock, it's his first caster. Leave him alone.
Tough. Your comments.
Don't get me wrong. I have my reservations about it too. But it's his character. I'm gonna let him play it the way he wants to play it.
Your hate comments don't affect me.
There haven't been any hate comments though, I will say that. We really haven't had any comments. We've had views, just no comments.
Which to me, 90% of the time on YouTube, I will say that you will have more views, 10 times more views than you will comment.
Yeah, like,
Because not everybody that watches it is going to comment.
I'm fine with that. I like getting comments though, so that's nice. I will say that currently, as of right now,
comments and feedback is always welcome.
Currently, as of right now, episode 1 of Hellside, I think, sits at 30 some odd views. I don't know if that's all from us just watching it over and over again.
Because once you view it, you can view it again and it counts.
It kind of does, actually.
Does it?
Rewatching a video absolutely counts for views. In fact, rewatching a video makes the algorithm recognize that it's popular, but it has to be more than a few people rewatching it.
So episode 2 has probably got a shit ton of views.
Actually, I can look that up. I can tell you how many views episode 2 has. I do think after I do so, though, we probably should start calling it, because it's getting kind of late.
Yeah, and I gotta open in the morning.
Yeah, good lord, dude. Yeah, YouTube Studio. Time to feed the dogs. We do have dog food now, by the way.
Yeah, I know. Remember to find joy wherever you go.
Let's see here.
You want to go eat, Valley? Or you want to lay there?
So, Welcome to Hellside, episode 1 of the campaign, has 32 views. Episode 2, part 1 has 14. Episode 2, part 2 has 11. Episode 3 has 8. And episode 4 currently has 6.
And that's not including the intermediate podcast that we've done.
Yeah, I didn't read those. We got some views on those too. But yeah, once again, I think what'll help is just us posting the video after it's up
Share
on
it to
YouTube.
other medias, yeah.
Yeah, I've started posting it on. I posted on Twitter. I have it posted on my brother's Facebook. I posted on my Facebook. And yes, I know basically no one uses Facebook, but I have relatives that still have their Facebook, so I figured, might as well let them see it.
Right.
Meanwhile, none of my relatives are on Twitter. So. But yeah, just anybody but yeah, just whenever I get this posted, I will shoot you the YouTube link, and you just post it on your stuff, and same thing with Patrick and Dom.
Yeah.
Because while I don't really care if I ever make money from YouTube, I would like people other than us to watch it.
Yeah, that would be.
It would be very
mean,
cool.
It would be nice, yes.
But yeah.
Yes, don't get me wrong. I would love to be able to go into YouTube, listen. like my kids especially, like, listen, you want to hear a cool YouTube story? Look at Hellside, or something like that.
Might want to wait till they're a little bit older. we we
Yeah, well, if you knew the kind of stuff that my kids were into already,
That's fair.
it would scare you.
Yeah. But yeah, once my brother gets back in
Especially
here,
my 7-year-old.
once Steven gets back in here, we'll do a sign off. Until then, thank you for coming on tonight. Honestly, I wasn't sure if we'd even get one of these out tonight.
Well, I'm not gonna lie. I started to go find a ride and go to the Foothills Festival in Jasper, but then all this rain decided it wanted to set in, and I was like, if it's raining here,
It's got to be raining there, yeah.
it's most likely raining there, and I don't want to stand out in the rain. Yes,
Yeah,
they are some of my favorite artists, but I'm not going to stand in the rain for them.
that's fair. All right, now that Steven's back, want to do the sign off?
That's it.
All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked it, please like and subscribe. Ring that bell so you always know when we post.
And always find joy.
Thank you guys sincerely. Thank you guys so much. Hopefully we will have a new section. If not this coming Monday, then the following Monday. And with that, all I have to say is goodbye.
Goodbye.
Later, Daniel.
Later, bruv.
Later,
Love
everybody.
y'all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.